Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something maybe a bit unexpected, but honestly, it's quite fascinating. The global pistachio market. Our mission, like always, is to take a whole stack of information today. There's a report from Cognitive Market Research called Global Pistachio Market Projections to 2033 and pull out the most important stuff for you. We're going to try and unpack where things stand now, where they're headed, looking at key regions, and maybe some, surprising growth areas.
Yeah, it's really interesting how even what seems like a niche market, like pistachios, can actually tell us a lot about wider economic trends and what consumers are doing.
Yeah.
You can learn quite a bit about shifting tastes, global economic health, just by looking at where and, well, how these specific markets grow and why.
Absolutely. So let's kick off with the big picture. Our source says the global pistachio market generated sales revenue of, get this, $7.8 billion back in 2021. That's a lot of pistachios.
Yeah.
What's the projection looking like? Is it just steady or are we seeing some real acceleration?
And we're definitely seeing significant acceleration. The report projects it'll hit over $9.4 billion by 2025, and then it expands even further to $13.7 billion by 2033. That works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of about 4.8% globally.
Yeah.
Which, signifies more than just popularity. It suggests pistachios are becoming, well, more integrated into diets and products worldwide. A real shift.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Nearly a $6 billion jump by 2033. That's quite something. So where are the biggest slices of this growing pie? And maybe more interestingly, where are those unexpected fast growth areas the report hints at?
Well, if you look at the regions, Asia-Pacific really stands out. It's the powerhouse. Back in 2021, it was already over $2.5 billion, and it's projected to go to more than $4.7 billion by 2033. That's a strong 5.3% CAGR.
Wow, 5.3% for a market that size. That's genuinely impressive. Which countries inside Asia-Pacific are really pushing that growth? Are there any surprises in there?
Within Asia-Pacific, China is clearly the leader. Its market was almost $800 million in 2021, and it's projected to nearly double, hitting over $1.5 billion by 2033. That's growing at a solid 5.5% annually. But here's where it gets really interesting, the emerging hotspots, right? India, for instance, showing huge promise. It's projected to more than double its market size, from about $340 million to nearly $700 million by 2033. And that's with an even higher CAGR, 6.1%.
Okay, India at 6.1%. Interesting.
And you really can't ignore Taiwan. Its momentum is, well, robust, set to more than double as well, from $132 million up to over $290 million. That's an impressive 6.7% CAGR.
6.7%. Wow. So India and Taiwan really stand out
They
there.
really do. It
Yeah.
suggests more than just general popularity. Maybe deeper shifts are happening there.
That's a fascinating point. What do you think might be fueling that kind of specific faster growth in places like India and Taiwan? Is it dietary changes, new uses, rising incomes maybe?
It's probably a mix of things, right? For India, maybe rising incomes mean more access to premium snacks, plus maybe growing health awareness about nuts. For Taiwan, could be evolving diets, global food trends influencing things, maybe even new culinary uses popping up. It points to some dynamic economic changes under the surface. And, other significant players like Japan, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, they're also see healthy, steady growth, generally looking at expanding maybe 50–70% over the next decade.
Okay, so Asia Pacific is clearly a major engine here, but let's zoom out a bit. How does this compare to, say, more established markets like North America? What does that comparison tell us?
Well, North America, well, maybe more mature, is still a huge player. Its market was nearly $2 billion in 2021, and it's projected to climb to over $3.3 billion by 2033. That's a steady 4.5% CAGR. Within that, the U.S. is dominant, no surprise there. It accounts for well over half the market, growing from nearly $1.4 billion to over $2.2 billion by 2033.
The U.S. is a big piece.
Yeah, but Canada's also seeing strong growth, projected to almost double its market to nearly $780 million. That's a 5.2% CAGR. And Mexico, too, showing really robust growth, moving from $150 million to over $268 million. That's expanding at 5.6% CAGR.
So North America is solid, consistent growth. Okay, what about Europe then? Is it following a similar path or are there different things going on there?
Europe's overall picture looks pretty healthy, too. It was over $1.5 billion in 2021, projected to reach over $2.6 billion by 2033. That's about a 4.5% CAGR. Similar to North America, actually. If you look at the bigger European markets, Germany's leading, projected to hit over $635 million by 2033 with a 5% CAGR. The UK is also strong, reaching over $460 million. That's a 5.4% CAGR. Then you have France, Italy, Russia, All significant, all showing solid, consistent growth. But here's something really interesting. The report has a category, rest of Europe, basically smaller markets lumped together. It was only about $50 million back in 2021, but it's projected to grow sharply, more than doubling to over $112 million by 2033. And get this, the CAGR is 7.8%.
Whoa, 7.8% for the rest of Europe. That's quite a jump. What's driving that, do you think?
Exactly. It really makes you wonder what's happening in those maybe less obvious markets. It points towards potential hidden gems, right? Exciting growth spots where maybe pistachio consumption is just catching on or really accelerating now.
That's a great point about looking beyond just the headline countries. It shows why this kind of deep dive is useful. Were there other regions that kind of jumped out with their growth potential? The source mentioned the Middle East as another emerging growth hotspot. What's the data show there?
Yeah, the Middle East shows pretty substantial growth. It posted over $560 million in 2021, and it's projected to nearly double to over $1 billion by 2033. That's a 5.5% CAGR. What's kind of compelling here is thinking about what this growth means. Maybe changing consumer habits in a region known for diverse traditional foods. Is it diversification or global trends, maybe? Within the region, Saudi Arabia is key, going from $181 million to over $360 million. That's nearly a 5.9% CAGR. The UAE shows even faster growth, actually, poised to double its market to over $177 million with a 5.97% CAGR, almost 6%. And Turkey's also significant, projected to reach nearly $230 million by 2033 with a 5.3% CAGR. So seeing that consistently high growth across several Middle Eastern countries suggests, strong regional liking and maybe new market penetration.
That really is quite an expansion in the Middle East. Definitely fits the emerging hotspot label. Now, what about South America and Africa? Are they following these same kinds of trends, or do we see different patterns there?
South America's market was over $625 million in 2021. Expected to rise to over $1 billion by 2033. That's about a 4.4% CAGR. Brazil leads the way there. And Africa, the market was over $555 million in 2021, projected to grow to over $860 million by 2033. That's a 3.2% CAGR. Nigeria and South Africa are the biggest players. So while these regions are showing healthy growth, you'll notice the TGRs are generally a bit lower compared to, say, Asia-Pacific or the Middle East. It perhaps indicates different stages of market development or maybe consumer adoption patterns. They're growing, yes, but not quite with that same explosive momentum we see elsewhere.
Right. Okay, so let's try to summarize what we've unpacked. The big trends seem clear. Consistent, pretty impressive global growth for pistachios overall. And Asia-Pacific and North America are really leading the charge in just sheer market size and also substantial growth.
That's right. And connecting back to the bigger picture, it's really important to highlight those emerging growth hotspots again. Places like India, Taiwan, parts of the Middle East, they're really impressive KGRs. They're not just numbers on a page, right? They hint at fascinating underlying shifts, economic, dietary, maybe cultural. Understanding these regional details is key for anyone watching market trends. It shows not just that things are growing, but where the really dynamic, maybe unexpected changes are happening.
Exactly. This deep dive really gives you a shortcut to getting informed about this specific but clearly booming global market, and maybe more importantly, some clues about why it's taking off like this.
Yeah, the pistachio market, it seems specific, but it provides this fascinating window onto global consumer tastes and economic shifts. It shows how even just one commodity can tell a much bigger story about, our interconnected world and how our tastes are evolving.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on, thinking about those really diverse growth rates we talked about, especially those surprising jumps in emerging markets like India, Taiwan, and parts of the Middle East. What kind of unexpected cultural or economic shifts might be fueling that specific surge in pistachio eating? And maybe how might that influence other food or commodity markets down the road? Something to consider. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and keep exploring the world's fascinating facts.